And we're back again. If you're looking for a video to improve your vegan baking, this is the perfect one for you. And if you're just getting into veganism, I have some really good tips for you today. But first, I want to stop you right there, and if you want to see more of this content, you can hit the subscribe button down there and ring the notification bell so you can see when there's new uploads. I post a lot of recipes on this channel, so you get a lot of yummy content. But let's get into the video. What are we going to do today? I'm going to show you how to veganize your baking. Super easy. It's like the 101 of vegan baking. At this point, I'm skilled to say that because I'm running a vegan cafe together with my sister, and we bake all the stuff. Everything we bake is vegan, and I'm just going to run through all the different steps when it comes down to vegan baking. I will also tell you about which kind of ingredients I use, like specifically the name of it, so you can follow along easily. First of all, the obvious thing to do when you're going to bake vegan is looking what to replace. This is the easiest step to do at first, because you have a normal recipe that you used already before you went vegan, before you tried out veganism, and now you want to continue making that recipe, but you don't really know how. So the easiest step is obviously at the beginning, just to switch up ingredients that you can easily get in a vegan option. An example for this would be milk, switching milk to a plant milk, yogurt, switching yogurt to a plant-based yogurt. My favorites for baking is probably soy yogurt and also coconut yogurt, but with coconut yogurt you have to be careful because it has a little bit of taste to it, which I don't mind most of the time, but some people do. And soy yogurt is obviously soy, so you have to be careful if someone is allergic to soy. And one really nice tip we found out through just experimenting with baking is that you can actually replace quark. Something we don't really find in the stores nowadays is vegan quark. I don't know what this is in English. It's a very dense mixture of a cream cheese and a yogurt, and it's more crumbly and sour. And it's perfect for dessert. It's a really refreshing kind of milk thing to use. To replace quark, we found out that you can either use a yogurt called skyr from, I think Alpro has skyr, this is the option here. Or you can go down the other route. If you have vegan yogurt, you can put it into a bag, like a clean towel, and just put it together, like close it up and let it sit over a sifter overnight, and just like the liquid will drip out and you will have a really dense yogurt the next day. You can use that perfectly as a quark replacement. And I'm just saying that because just try to use quark, or like this vegan quark, more in your baking, because you'll see it gives a really nice texture and flavor. It's sour and it's lighter. It's really tasty, so we like to include that in our baking as well. Especially if you're making something like a cheesecake, this is super helpful. If you're interested in knowing how to make a vegan cheesecake, because I think vegan cheesecake is the most difficult thing we had to try out a lot to achieve making a vegan cheesecake, because there's so much milk product in there and eggs, and to replace it is really hard. So if you're interested in a cheesecake recipe, maybe just leave me a comment down below which flavor you want to try. Like, I want to have a strawberry cheesecake or like a chocolate cheesecake. I think we made a lot of them already, so let me know. Butter, you can change it up to a vegan butter. Our favorite is almond for baking. Sometimes you can use oil instead of butter because it makes the dough fluffier. That's the easy things. One really hard thing to crack is actually the eggs. See this? This is the guide for your new eggs, your new possibilities. Because what egg does for baking is it makes it fluffy, it makes it stick together, like it holds together, and also it gives it a different texture. So you have to have in mind what your cake or your baked good is going to look like, or should look like when it's done, and what the egg is doing to it. First of all, these are some easy replacement for eggs that we use on a daily basis when we bake. Our number one option for egg replacement is super easy and nothing at all, actually. It's just sparkling water. If you're making a really light, fluffy dough, you don't want anything to weigh it down. So putting a lot of stuff into there to replace the egg would just make it fall down. So you have to take another route. I will show you in detail how to do that when I'm explaining the recipe of the day, because it goes hand in hand with the content of today. It is a very good basic cake dough you can use for almost everything you want to bake. And there's the sparkling water, really important. It makes the dough fluffy, it has air in it, but it doesn't weigh it down. Another option is applesauce. This is better for cakes which are really dense and more like moist. For example, we use it on more like an apple cake, which is coming fresh out of the oven and you want to eat it with some whipped cream on top. Perfect for that. It's very dense and it's more like on the heavier side. So this is a good option for applesauce. Some people use aquafaba in replacement of other things. For example, they want to replace egg whites with that or like a meringue. You can do that, but we found out that we preferred sparkling water because the aquafaba does nothing more for us than the sparkling water does, so it's cheaper with the sparkling water. And you can use bananas. This is also an option, most obviously used in banana cakes or in other baked goods, but the thing is you have the banana taste in there, a little bit of banana taste in there, so you have to consider that if you want to use banana. Another thing to replace in your baking instead of egg is adding cornstarch, because most of the time egg is used to bind your dough together, so it sticks together. It's not just one floppy mass, it just runs out. So cornstarch is used in also cooking and baking to make things more creamy, more dense, so you can use cornstarch instead of egg. But I will show you later, there is importance to how you mix up the ingredients to achieve the replacement of an egg. When it comes to baking, vegan or not, it comes down to the chemistry, how your ingredients react to each other. I think baking is most of the time more difficult because if you just leave out one ingredient or if you replace it, it can the whole cake can just collapse or not work out at all. So you have to be careful. That's the same thing for vegan baking, but it's not witchcraft. It's actually really easy. We found out a few tricks to make sure your dough is not going to be a brick if you were done baking it or not baked through. Your best friends when it comes to vegan baking is baking powder, baking soda, apple cider vinegar or lemon juice. Those ingredients together react. You need the baking powder obviously for rising as a rising agent. The baking soda, you need it also as a rising agent, and it reacts with the acidity of either the apple cider vinegar or the lemon juice. Don't use too much baking soda as well. It will taste super prickly on your tongue. Don't do that. But you can put in a lot more baking powder. You bake like a fluffier cake. So that's really good. I will show you the exact measurements later for the recipe. And what comes after the baking? For creams, for frostings, for toppings, anything you want to decorate your cake with. Just think about what you normally would use. Let's say a buttercream. If the buttercream says, okay, it's buttermilk, powdered sugar, or like icing sugar and flavor, just take the vegan options. The only thing you have to have in mind is that vegan butter tends to melt a lot quicker. So if you're making something with like vegan butter and the butter has to be cooled down, for example, puff pastries or buttercream that shouldn't melt away, be more aware that you have to keep it colder longer. We like to make our buttercream a little bit lighter. We're not the biggest fan of buttercream. It's really heavy and too much butter in there is not our favorite, but it's nice for some cakes. For example, there's a German cake called Donau Wave. It has a chocolate vanilla sponge cake and then you have a really light buttercream on top and then you have some cherries in there, a very thin chocolate ganache, which is still it has a wave shape. Maybe we can make a recipe of that as well if you're interested. Just leave me a comment down below. I would love to do more baking on this channel. Our favorite buttercream is a mixture of butter and a vanilla pudding. One of our go-to whipped creams, vegan options, is a mixture of Schlagfix and Vega cream. The Schlagfix makes it really fluffy and light and gives it a texture. The Vega cream is important to get a little bit of sourness that the cream would have normally, because Schlagfix on its own just tastes like nothing. Also, another option is to mix Schlagfix with a vegan quark. Like I told you earlier, how to make the vegan quark, or just use a vegan skyr and mix it up together and you will have a super nice, light cream for your cake. Another option I found is something called soy whip, or at this point they also have something called rice whip. This is how it looks. And you can just use that for whipping it. It's really heavy and you should probably mix it up with some Schlagfix as well to make it lighter, but it has a really nice taste on its own already. To make a chocolate ganache, easy thing, just replace the chocolate with some dark chocolate and you add in some vegan cream. You can use cooking cream in the case. Also, I wanted to tell you a little bit how we do our baking specifically. We use spelt flour for all of our baking because my family uses it all the time. I we don't have like normal flour in our house, like normal wheat flour. Perfectly fine, it doesn't make a difference. I don't taste the difference. Like all of our guests, no one ever mentioned, ooh, this tastes strange. What is it? It's just spelt flour. Another thing we use is light cane sugar, and it's also perfectly for baking. We don't use the refined, super fine baking sugar. And now onto the recipe. Today I will show you the easiest, most delicious cake batter you can use for anything you want to do with vegan cakes. We use this cake batter for almost all of our baking in the cafe, so let's go. Today's cake is going to be a super yummy lemon cake with Earl Grey flavor. It's gonna be marbled, so it has two different kinds of dough, but it's easy to make and it has a lemon glaze and super tasty for coffee or for tea time. We're going to use 200 grams of flour, add in 150 grams of sugar, add in 20 grams of cornstarch, 7 grams of baking powder, half a teaspoon of baking soda. Mix all the dry ingredients together. Then you'll measure 120 grams of oil, 70 grams of lemon juice, and 150 grams of sparkling water. Mix it all together. Split the dough in 2 equal parts, and now you'll add to one part the lemon zest from 1 lemon. And in the other part, you will add in around 4 teaspoons of crushed Earl Grey tea and mix it all together. Next up, you will line your baking tin with some paper and you will add in the doughs one after the other so you get a little bit of a marble. Bake your cake at 175 degrees Celsius for around 50 minutes. Take it out of the oven. You should check it with a wooden stick if it's done. For some finishing touches, I just let it cool down, added some lemon glaze on top. It's a mixture of icing, sugar and lemon juice and water, and just sprinkled it with some lemon zest and some Earl Grey tea, and you're ready and good to go. Enjoy your cake! The most important thing to say at this recipe is super easy. I will leave you the detailed descriptions in the description box of this video, but basically it comes down to you need some acidity and the baking soda and powder to let it rise. You need the sparkling water to let it rise as well. And you need the cornstarch to make it crumbly. You can change up the liquids however you want. Basically, you always need around 220 milliliters of liquid in there. It doesn't matter which liquid, it should just be like a light liquid. And you can also change up the dry ingredients. You can add less flour and add cocoa instead, but you always have to get up to around 200 grams of flour plus 100 grams of other ingredients. For example, other nuts or cocoa, or just mix it. So you have to be careful to take those measurements in consideration, and then you're good to go and can make almost any cake and anything you want out of this kind of batter. And the finishing tips for today. Have fun with baking. Vegan baking can be frustrating at times. I know. Just stay up to it. Just try out recipes. After time, you will get a better eye for which recipes work out better and which ones are just crap. And try to be creative with your baking. We found out through baking vegan, we thought we have a lot of restrictions, but we actually don't really have anything at all. We can bake everything we want to. At this point, I tried out so many things. There's still some things that I want to improve, but we didn't find ourselves to be liking it anything through baking just vegan. Just try out different things. You will find yourself enjoying baking a lot more. And that's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it was very helpful for you. Please let me know if you try out the recipe from today, because it's an all-time favorite from us and we are really proud of the recipe, even though it's so simple, but sometimes you just gotta be like, yes, I did that. Actually, my sister did, so yes, my sister did that. Anyways, I hope you have a great day and you're enjoying your Veganuary so far. If you're joining, let me know. I would love to know. And I'm also keeping you updated about more recipes here and also on my Instagram. You can follow me down below if you want to. I have some nice pictures as well on there and a lot of cats. If you like cats, that's perfect. See you next time. Bye!